This is NBA Talk. I'm Erik Torenberg, joined by special guest Dan Barto, Head of Player Development at IMG Academy, along with my co-hosts Reuben Torenberg and Frack. Let's dive in.
Guys, we've got a lot to talk about today because the playoffs are in just a few days, and we want to get our predictions in. But before we do that, why don't we briefly just talk about some high-level reflections on the season. I'll start by sharing my biggest disappointments and my biggest sort of positive surprises. And if there are any other broad reflections you want to share about this season or the NBA more broadly at this moment, feel free to weave them in as well. On the disappointment side, I to me the biggest one is this probably unanimous, which is the Sixers. I mean, coming in with the big three of George, Embiid and Tyrese, you thought they would be top 4, top 5, or really even a contender. And I know injuries, beset them, but they really just looked like an aging sort of pathetic team. I think one fortunate thing in the downside is that at least they'll get a good pick. This is a rebuilding year, and they got the chance to play a lot of young players. And maybe there's a couple this guy with the last name starts with Y, I can't pronounce it. Sort of, I think from France or something. Is a good player. The big guy, Jared McCain. Yeah. Jared McCain was good when he's young. Anyways, the Sixers are in a sort of a tough position right now in terms of, do they try to build around Embiid and go for another run or sell him? Yeah, exactly. You know me, it's go big or blow it up. And if you got youth, you can wait a little bit, but they don't, right? So and Embiid's stock is only going down as he gets older, obviously. Okay, let me just finish this real quick. So the Pelicans, they had some injury, bad luck, but even if they were healthy, it seems like they weren't going to be compelling. The Suns, obviously, in the same position as the Sixers, where they're aging and not good, and you probably trade Durant for picks, Beal for scraps, and maybe build around Booker, or maybe if you get something for Booker, maybe you just literally blow the whole thing up. I'd probably keep Booker and trade everything else, because it just doesn't seem that they're going to be able to compete. And then to a lesser degree, the Mavs, although I still maintain it's the worst trade in NBA history, and that Nico should face not only firing but potentially jail time for what went down, or somebody. I continue to believe the conspiracy theories that they were trying to tank the value of the franchise. And then the Magic, I just expected bigger things from them. I think Kings as well. I expected a step up year. They're in a really tough spot. They're like the Chicago Bulls of years ago. they got these aging stars who don't play well together, and I don't really know what you do there. But I'll pause there because I've been talking for a minute. Do you guys have any commentary on anything that I've shared, or any other disappointments you want to weigh in on?
Dan, you want to start us off?
I'll hit on the Philadelphia thing because you opened up with that. I think that obviously highly disappointing for everybody involved. And the hope that you would have to have now coming out of it is, look what Kawhi's done, right? Like, okay, there is hope. Multi-injured guys, multi-out guys, even Zion, once he got back, was pretty good. So it seems like some of the NBA medical stuff might have like an uptick of hope here for those guys. But, from where we were in September to, where we are now, I would say that Philadelphia and Phoenix, the only team that I would add is, at the end of the day, I don't want to say they fumbled, but Miami didn't do anything. Like, now it looks like they fumbled a little bit. Like, they had all the opportunity last off season. I felt like they could have been a contender going into the year. Not, again, anything could happen here in the playoffs, but, the reality is, to me, being in the state of Florida, they ended up being very disappointed. I think the two fringe teams we spent a lot of time talking about, that also disappointed were Chicago, because again, just kind of sat on a lot of things and really still didn't formulate a direction. And I think that again, Dallas, highly disappointing for this year's season, right? Like, we don't know where it will go in 2 years, but for right now, like, to have your fans so excited in September and have your fans where they are now, like, I don't know how you recover from some of those types of things. I mean, the Heat might only have, they might have alienated all of their youth fan base, might move over to be fans of Golden State. Like, that's dangerous, right? Like, Chicago's a diehard city. Like, how long? I mean, the empathy or the apathetic fan just keeps, like, that's bad for franchises, and that's bad for the stars that stick around, because then they become apathetic.
I agree with most of it. I think injuries always play a part in every season. And they specifically played a huge part in the Sixers season, the Pelicans season, the Mavs season. The Mavs is completely unforgivable regardless, because you just don't trade the 25-year-old perennial first-team All-NBA player at any point, no matter what, especially given the reasons that Nico has already posited. And jail time is steep, but man, he really, I'm surprised that this man still has a job, and would be surprised if he has one after June. Another disappointment I have is just the owners firing their coaches at weird times, specifically this Grizzlies Taylor Jenkins firing and the Nuggets Mike Malone firing. And maybe this Nuggets thing will work out and they'll play well. I just think the timing of it is terrible. I think you're wasting any chance of continuity when it comes playoff time, when you're firing your coach with 9 games to go and 3 games to go respectively. And I'd be very surprised if either team made a run, although I think the Nuggets are pretty poised to at least compete against the Clippers. I'm really excited to watch that series. I think it's going to be awesome. And the Suns, I think, are just, man, talk about a true fall from grace. I think the culture from the top down has deteriorated faster than anything I've ever heard of, from making the finals in 21 and looking like a team on the rise to where they are just 4 years later and 3 head coaches later, is pretty astounding. Positive surprises. I kind of wrote down a couple players who I was either down on going into the season or didn't particularly have on my radar, who really impressed me. And some of these players are older players. And the headline, I think I got to take a huge L on this because I was so down on him his whole career, is Karl Anthony Towns. Man, what an incredible offensive season. He's been such a great fit on the offensive end. Now that it's playoff time and things are coming down to crunch time, I'm curious to see how he holds up defensively and how he plays in the playoffs. But, I actually really liked how he played last year, and I think he was a really big cog of getting them past the Nuggets in 7 and played Jokic well and played great offense in that series. So I think it's going to be really exciting. Peyton Pritchard, this dude is a hooper. I don't think he should be 6th man of the year. I think it should be Beasley, but they're neck and neck. And I think if this guy's on any other team, he's a 20-point per game scorer. And I just always appreciate the little unathletic white dude who makes it happen in the NBA. Shout out TJ McConnell. So he's awesome. I have written the Cavs as a team, but I'd really highlight Evan Mobley and Darius Garland. I think both of them had freaking awesome bounce back seasons, and I'm pumped to see them play in the playoffs. Let's add Ty Jerome to that mix. Jalen Johnson. This guy is a stud. We all liked him coming in, but man, before he got hurt, he was on a roll. And I'm just really excited to see, how his career unfolds over the next few years. This one might be my favorite one of all, but Kobe White, man, he is a bucket. It's beautiful to watch. And, they're stuck in mediocrity. He may not be the best defensive player, but I don't think anyone was expecting this dude to be a legitimate force on the offensive end in the NBA. I saw him as like a 6th, 7th man at most, and he's really making the most of his opportunity. So he's exciting. And then 4 more names that I love. Austin Reeves. It's got to be one of the coolest stories in the NBA. This guy is so slithery, and I just love his shaky, herky-jerky game. And I love how he's adjusted his game with Luka and LeBron in the mix. Although I call LeBron the real winner of the whole season because he got Luka and got himself another chance at a championship. And then James Harden, fantastic season, great rebound. 2 years ago, come to Sixers, this dude was done. Everyone thought that he was going to be a liability. He wanted out again from another team. He wanted Doc out. Just the whole country was down on him. And this guy turned his career around in a second, and also turned around Zubac's career, who now is considered a top 5-7 center in the league after he got traded for Mike Muscala and a bag of peanuts. Imagine the Lakers still had him. And then the last name, and this one hits home both from my team and my country perspective, but shout out to Denny. Man, this guy is a hooper. Watch out. They call him Turbo, and no one can stop this guy on the break. So with that, I'll pause. Rip City, baby.
Yeah, to add to the positive surprises, I'll go on a team. The Blazers. It was an impressive year. Maybe you got a worse pick than you should get, but really impressive to see Denny's growth. I'm curious if he can be a star in this league. But there's some nice pieces for sure.
Shaded sharp.
Yeah, totally. I think Rockets and Pistons are my biggest. I had Rockets as 8th seed. Pistons I had out of the playoffs. Biggest surprises. I was just thinking about, like, if you would think of who are the 10 teams in the NBA that are best suited for success over the next 5 years. And I took a stab at that just as we were talking. And my list is the Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, and Pistons. So that's only 4 teams from the East. I'll get to the West in a second. But notice that the Pacers, the Bucks, they're not on that list. The Magic, even though before the season I would have had the Magic, but for some reason maybe they just have an off year and they'll bounce back next year. But I'm putting the Pistons at top 4. And then in the West, I think they get 6 of them. Thunder, Rockets, Lakers, Nuggets, and I know Nuggets is a bigger risk, but with Jokic, sure. Timberwolves, and then the Spurs. So who's not on that list is the Clippers, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Mavs, the Blazers. And then I think a lot of teams, unfortunately, are just stuck in mediocrity, like indefinitely, like the Raptors, the Bulls, the Heat. I mean, just the whole East, basically. Besides the Hawks. Why are the Hawks so whack? They're so stacked, as you mentioned, Reuben, with Jalen Johnson. The first pick, Zach, is good. They got that. I feel like they have another guy I'm forgetting.
Dyson Daniels, Okongwu, Capella.
Their bench, Terrence Mann. I mean, they're deep, but I feel like as long as Trae Young is the starting point guard, I just don't feel like I just don't see it. And then the West is aging, right? With the Clippers, the Warriors, the Kings, the Mavs, Kyrie and AD. I just don't see it. So, Spurs because of Wemby. But yeah, curious for your reactions. Any team that you feel should be in that top 10 that I didn't include or out of it?
No, I think that the future of the teams is really, really going to be more dependent upon there being a singular decision maker. If you look at the mess in Dallas and those things, even the stuff that's gone on in the Clippers and the Lakers and the Heat, and I just think that anybody that has a singular focus, like the Pistons brought in Trajan Langdon, and he was empowered to make all of the decisions, right? He hired the coach, he moved the roster around. So I would agree with the Pistons. I think that if you look around at the teams that have power battles, involved owners, people that are on the periphery, maybe people that are in decision-making positions that have no kind of they don't have generalist experience. They've just been, a salary cap guy, or they've just been an agent, or I think those are the at-risk organizations, and the ones that have, a singular voice that can really move forward, are good. So again, use Philadelphia, like, if Daryl Morey remains the voice, I think they'll be okay. Right. Like, I think that if But I don't know about Miami. Like if it's Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, eventually something has to give. That's just society has proved that for, thousands and thousands of years, that's the way the power dynamics go. And I just think there's too much information moving around right now. And again, in Phoenix, that's the perfect example. Like, GMs and coaches and players, and like there's just too much noise. So the organizations that don't have noise will do well, and that puts your Knicks into the volatility category. But I do like the direction of your 10, and I think that those teams can remain there, and that single power broker. And it seems like the Lakers Jeannie Buss just trumped everything and came over the top and gave Pelinka the thing. And that's what that power move there is what organizations need to focus on to remain powerful or to become powerful, is that there's somebody at the top and there's no questioning that person at the top.
And are you saying with the Knicks that it's unclear if it's Leon Rose or the owner or Thibodeau or?
Yeah, I just think that that got them to this point, right? I don't think that can keep you there for the next 10 years. There's 3 CEOs, there's a board of directors. So I think as these have become multi-billion-dollar organizations, I think you're going to see them function as multi-billion-dollar organizations. And I think some of the ones having success now don't function that way. They function as founder-led startups.
Sure. It's like if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. Erik, I got a question for you before I share my opinions on the teams. If the Knicks don't get past round 2, so they lose to the Celtics, right? It would be round 2. Does Thibodeau come back?
I think he does, yeah. I mean, it depends how, if we lose to the Celtics in 6 or 7 games, that's different than getting swept or losing the first round. But I think Tibbs is like, it's a good question. I mean, if we have a bad showing, like really bad showing, maybe his job is in jeopardy, but it feels like he has the loyalty of Josh Hart and Brunson and these guys. At the same time, I think it's a disappointing year for the Knicks, or underwhelming at the least. I think expectations were higher. I think we got destroyed by all the good teams. And if we get destroyed again in the playoffs by the Celtics, I think it's just very clear we don't have what it takes to compete. And we don't have a ton of roster flexibility right now. So we're in a relatively tough position relative to our hopes.
Sure. But like Ishbia said, 26 other teams would love to have that roster.
I'm going to challenge you as well, Erik, on my question. If they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, one step further, if they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and lose, would you be opposed to a major move?
Well, if we made the Eastern Conference Finals, like if we beat the Celtics, that would be incredible.
Yeah, whole team's coming back if you do that.
It would be a bummer to lose to the Cavs.
Or the Pacers.
Yeah, or the Pacers to make it all the way and lose. But I think that I'm open to trading. I mean, if we can get Giannis for Cat plus someone else, like I'm open to that. We clearly don't have enough depth on this team, and also there's just something weird about the fit isn't perfect. I feel Brunson and Cat as weak defenders is kind of tough. So I don't know if this, and Bridges just hasn't been what we needed him to be, and Hart, can't shoot threes anymore, or like lost confidence in shooting threes. So there are too many vulnerabilities in our starting 5, and we don't really have a deep bench. So I'm open to, Cat's at an all-time high value for him. I don't know all time, but he's at a high stock value right now. Hart's probably got some high value. OG's got some good value. Whether we make it or not, I'm open to. It's not like this team gels so well that we're not open for trades. It's just got to be the right trade and a right long-term trade fit with this team. I hope that Bridges can really step up because this team, there's something magic when this team does, but we just haven't seen it yet, or haven't seen it consistently.
I think it's a fair assessment. I think it's like you said, the two major downfalls are lack of defense on, the point of attack and on the back line, and lack of depth. And it matters a little less in the playoffs, but the way that Tibbs plays his guys, you're just putting yourself in a position where you're more likely to get injured, and your players are injury prone, especially OG. And if he goes down, you're kind of done. So I think if anyone could trade Cap for Giannis, I'd do it too. We might as well trade Cap for Luka while we're at it. But I think you're in a good position. I think you can compete with any of these teams despite what's happened in the season, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. So
I just asked the question because I was making the reference to how these things are operating like large businesses, right? Like, so like when you're a large business, you acquire your competitor, you do merger and acquisition, you do all of these things to keep your stock high, right? Like to stay in that realm. And so, I mean, I know we don't want to backtrack and dwell on it. So again, I didn't have a problem with what Dallas did. Okay. I obviously think it hurts their fandom first and foremost. And again, we don't know where things would be if Kyrie stayed healthy and AD played every game since he got traded. So we can't really judge that. And I do think that, just like we're saying that OG is a at-risk volatile asset, that Luka wasn't at-risk volatile asset. And so there was some strategy made, but again, if Giannis wants out, do you have a package ready if you're the Knicks or the Rockets or the Clippers with an aging roster, or the Heat? So again, as we talk about the way that people operate, I guess since, look, it worked out perfect for Dallas last year. They made it all the way past everybody. He was a hero. Every trade was a hero, right? Like now you get a streak of bad luck and things happen, and, now you're back to, under where you want to be. But like moving forward, like those have to be conversations that are happening every day. Like the Cavs could get swept, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's going to happen, but like the Knicks could lose in the second round. The Jaylen Brown's knee could not be good. And, now like you don't want to talk about all the what ifs, but I think that those are conversations that fans and people that love the sport have to become more in tune on. That this is the way NIL has changed college, and this corporate mentality of calculated high risk, high return is not going away with these new owners.
If you're the Knicks, would you do Cat and Mikal Bridges for Giannis? / could you see that getting done by the Bucks?
Yes, no.
The Bucks wouldn't take Bridges and Cat?
No, maybe add another 3 first-rounders. Maybe.
I mean, how high is Giannis' stock these days? I mean,
it's the highest. His stock is high. He's 30, 12, and 7 for like 6 years straight. It's higher than anyone besides Luka and Jokic.
Can I flip the switch on this real quick, just to throw another layer into this? The catchphrase that everybody's talking about with basketball, NBA stuff right now is systematic dependency and systematic development. So if the Knicks or Milwaukee, we talked about Cat last year and how it changes their spacing. That was a systematic, calculated decision. Didn't help their bench, but it helped them win whatever 50-some games. When teams, Dallas made a systematic decision, right? Phoenix misjudged their systematic alignment of what a proven coach wasn't going to be able to come in and run his style with what they had. So if Milwaukee decides that Giannis is X and their system isn't going to benefit and not win a championship under what it is, he could get moved for Karl Anthony Towns and a first-round pick. Like the Luka haul wasn't a fair haul, in my opinion, right? But it is a fair haul in the new way of thinking when you look at it through the lens of what's most important to become a championship team. For Cleveland, their most important systematic move was to bring in a coach that was super flexible, super player oriented, good with X and O's, and then re-sign everybody, right? Like that was it. The Lakers hit a home run with a trade. The Knicks hit a home run with a trade. The Celtics system stayed exactly the same for now. So again, just as I'm just like the systematic fit of how you pick your bench players has a lot to do with their personality. So again, in 2 weeks, this conversation is going to be completely different based upon the results and based upon the owner making a decision. We're going for a championship next year. Okay, well then we got to move Giannis. We moved Middleton. We got to move Giannis. We got to move Dame. Let's see if we can put together a roster that can beat the Cavs and the Celtics. How do we do that with keeping Doc as our coach?
I've come around to the idea that trading Luka is justifiable, or it's like, hey, we don't want to, Dan's argument, you want to give a super max player to somebody who's sort of not worth it for whatever set of cultural and on the court reasons, even though he's certainly a top player, maybe just not worth what SGA makes or whatever. What I think is still inexcusable is just not getting the proper haul in return. AD
or shopping.
Yeah, AD may never have a good season again. Who knows? You didn't get many picks, and so would you trade him maybe for nothing? I don't know. And so whereas you could have got how many picks with the Thunder or the Rockets, or you could have got so many picks, and you could have got other players. Minnesota didn't accept Anthony Edwards for him reportedly, but there's got to be some other team that would have given a young star. Or a set of young stars. You're telling me Rockets wouldn't give Amen Thompson for Luka Doncic? That's the crime in my opinion. But I agree with your broader point that teams may want to move stars, and Bucks may say, hey, we don't have what it takes to win a championship right now. Giannis is at his peak value. Let's trade. More obvious one is Sixers may want to trade Embiid, and I'd probably rather have Embiid than Cat. Maybe you guys are dubious on that.
Even right now, even despite maybe just as a player, not counting injuries, of course, this guy's been out for 2 years straight.
Yeah, if assuming he can get back on the court, I don't know his medical condition well enough.
A hard assumption,
right?
His value is just low right now, and comparatively speaking, I think Embiid's value is as low as it's ever been. Whereas I don't think that Giannis' value has dropped. It's not like he has played badly. If anything, he has greatly raised his level of play since Dame went out. It makes it a harder convo.
I do want to just, before we move on to our predictions here for probably the last half hour, I do want to say I widely missed on the Suns because I think I picked them to win the West. I widely missed on my prediction on Anthony Edwards, especially Anthony Edwards post January when first Randall went down and then Randall came back as like he had been on a 7-day journey to a medical facility. Just decided he was going to become the ultimate teammate in those things, and I think that's the fun part of this. So I just I wanted to own kind of my misguided predictions on some of that, but it's also fun because you learn so much. Does that make like when we're on our chat and we're doing stuff and you guys are asking these questions and I'm throwing out wild opinions and expertise that goes into X and O and on the court stuff, but then there's just rationality that goes into the original question. It's again, as we make these predictions, we literally have no idea.
We really don't.
I underpeg the Cavs, ability to do it, and the predictive model, like they say, hey, a great gambler only picks 62% of their games correctly. So as we make these picks and we talk about the incoming offseason, nobody would have said anything about Luka potentially being traded at this point last year. It was an impossibility. You would have said, no, we will fly a spaceship to Jupiter before that happened.
It's so funny that Bradley Beal has a no trade clause.
That's what's great about sports. that's what makes this could be maybe the best playoffs of my life, I think, with some of these matchups.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I also just want to say I missed on the West. I predicted 4 teams that are out to be in. The Kings, the Mavs. It's not official, but assuming that they're out, the Kings, the Mavs, the Pelicans, and the Suns, I thought would make the playoffs. And I did not predict the Grizzlies, the Warriors, the Clippers, and the Lakers. So yeah, some big misses there.
I think I predicted it perfectly. But I did. I think I had 6 or 8 or 7 of 8.
Yeah, you were better. Let's disappointing season from the Spurs.
Eric, can I ask you a question? It's a podcast question. Like, can you run the transcripts through ChatGPT to pull out all of our proper and improper predictions?
Oh, it's a good question. I'm not sure, but that'll be fun to experiment with.
Like if you could just download the upload the transcripts and just see like what actually came true. I don't know the capabilities of it. I just was thinking like that'd be really funny to go back and list the best ofs from the summer of 2024.
No, that we'll be able to do that for the playoffs too. So as a segue, let's talk about the Eastern Conference. I'll just give my quick rounds and then I'll have you guys do the same. So I have the Cavs beating the Hawks, who I predict to keep the 8th seed, though it could be the Bulls or Heat. It's the same to me. I think the Cavs will win at 5. I do like the Hawks individually, but the Trae Young era, I just feel like is over. I feel like it's time to call it in. That said, Trae Young did shock the world like 5 years ago, and maybe he could do it again. I have the Celtics beating the Magic in 6. The Magic beat Celtics 3 times, I think, last year in the season. They match up well with them. They're injured now, which they're not as deep as they usually are, which is a bummer. So even 6, I think, is optimistic if you're the Magic. I have the Knicks beating the Pistons in 6. I think this could go to 7, and Pistons could win. Like I give the Pistons like a 25% chance of winning. I think they beat the Knicks 3 times this season. They match up really well. Once Cade gets against Brunson, it is tough. And then Towns, like we don't match up well with the Pistons. And by the way, I just got to say the Pistons did the blow it up strategy so well. They drafted so well, to get Duran and Ivy and Cade and Stewart, and then to put some vets around them, which I was dubious of in the beginning of the year. I gave a lot of shit for them, but turns out to have been a good move. Maybe not Tobias Harris, but Malik Beasley. So they've done a phenomenal job, and for some reason the Wizards and Raptors, it just doesn't make sense. I feel like what they're doing. Anyways, that's maybe for another conversation. But Pistons doing a good rebuild. And then lastly, I have the Pacers beating the Bucks in 6, but I don't feel super confident about that prediction. I'll pause here. Reuben, do you want to take a stab at your predictions?
Yeah, they're pretty similar, but I'm more bullish on your team than you are. Cavs sweep against the Hawks or the Bulls or the Heat. Celtics, who are they playing? Magic. Celtics in 6. I think the Magic are just a pretty good matchup for them and are super physical and are going to steal a couple because the Celtics will kind of not be playing as hard as they can, which they do when they tend to like play down to their competition sometimes. Knicks Pistons. Knicks in 5. I think the in-season games have been a little bit overblown, and actually for some reason I went back and saw some highlights and just saw Cade like lighting up Bridges and then Anunoby and then Hart kind of like back to back to back all game long twice, and I just don't think that that's sustainable. And the Pistons had a great season. I just think the Knicks are a better team.
Do you think Cade is the best player in the series?
No. I think Brunson is the best player in the series, and then Cade is the second, and then OG, Cat, and Bridges are the 3 next best, and then maybe Hart. Because I got to take the L on Hart too, man. He's been great. God, why couldn't he do that in Portland? Then Bucks, Pacers. Here's where I zag. Bucks in 7. I think without Dame, and this hurts me to say, they found a couple lineups that are really interesting and that are just like super shooting heavy and allow Giannis to kind of play more of a point forward and on ball role. Um, and who knows if this continues, but Kevin Porter's playing really well recently. I don't know if that'll continue. I'd like to see it happen just because I like to see a comeback story. He's kind of a dummy, but yeah, I like the last couple games I've watched from them. I think they're hungry and I think they're going to play well. So that's my pick there. And then I think I'm missing one series, the 4-5.
No, you did Pacers Bucks. You did them all.
Pacers Bucks. Yep. So those are my 4.
Dan, what say you?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with, I think, the healthy Cavs in 5, unless Georges Nang has some secret game plan that he stole before he left Cleveland, which, you just never know. And I thought it was interesting last night. Like, Trey was really pissed off, got thrown out of the game. Maybe that sparked something. Maybe it was calculated. I like the Celtics. I think that it's going to be super physical, which could be bad for the Celtics in round 2. So I'm going to say Celtics in 6, but I think it's going to be a war. And I think, again, Orlando had some like literal magic last night, had some camaraderie, had some fire. And I liked it. And I think, again, Boston can't afford an injury. That's all I'm going to say about the Magic series. Boston cannot afford an injury. I love the Knicks. I have the Knicks in 4-0. I think that Detroit is happy with their performance. I don't think there's much motivation for anybody to outperform. I think they have competitors. I don't think that they have winners. And this is what Thibodeau's built through all year to get to this point, all the minutes, all the things, and they're just going to impose their will and then get some rest going into the Celtics series. And that's probably me wanting that too. So they're better against those. And then, I like Milwaukee. I love the Kyle Kuzma trade has been great. Reuben pointed out the growth of, Kevin Porter and, some of the different decisions they made with their personnel. But they are corner heavy and Indiana's pace is just going to be too much. I'm going to say Indiana in 6.
I got to say, I almost think Cade is the best player in the series, not to be against my own team, but I think Cade is just like a top 10 player. Like, I feel like he's like entered the next stratosphere. I think Brunson is a better overall player, but Cade just against the Knicks has done so well, but maybe I'm prematurely panicking based on the season results. So it's encouraging to hear you guys be more bullish on the Knicks than I am.
Hold on. It's very common for a Knicks fan to hedge against his own feelings.
Yeah, totally. Well, on that note, I have the Celtics beating the Knicks in. I'm going to go 7. I think Knicks will give them the run for their money. We'll go all the way to Boston. I think there's a 25% chance we win, maybe 35. So we could win, but Celtics are just a safer team to pick. And then I got the Cavs over the Pacers in 5, and the Celtics over the Cavs in 7. So that's my. I think the Cavs are good, but just Celtics are a bit better. How do you think the rest of the East shakes up, Reuben?
Celtics in 6. Cavs in 6. Do I do the next series too? Celtics in 7. I think it's going to be an awesome series. But I think Celtics are going to go back to the finals. They're just too good.
I have the Knicks in 6. I'm predicting Boston injuries.
Amazing. That'd be incredible.
I am also predicting the Pacers in 6 due to Cleveland injuries. I'm going against Adam Silver's player management load that will catch up now in the playoffs for important teams. The Reggie Miller will be forced to sit next to Spike Lee for every game, which will then become a reality TV show and make somebody millions. And I'm going with the Knicks advancing to the finals, not to entertain you guys, but I just feel that there's really no scouts on them. They're getting healthier. And again, I think that they have winners that all have just an extra edge compared to the other top teams in the East.
Oh man, Tibbs is definitely coming back if that happens.
I love it. It's amazing. Yeah, to build your case, Dan, like we were injured coming into the playoffs last year, OG, and we just got injured through the playoffs, but this year people are coming back. Mitch is healthy now. Brunson came back. We have a full roster, and so if we can keep that, it'll be a different look. So love that. Let's get to the West. I'll go Thunder over the Grizzlies in 4. I'll go Warriors over the Rockets in 7. I'll go Lakers over the Timberwolves in 7. And I'll go Nuggets over the Clippers in 7.
Okay. I got Thunder over the Kings in 5. I have Clippers over the Nuggets in 6. I got Julius Randle, light a candle, got no handles, Lakers in 5. And then I got Rockets over the Warriors in 7.
I have Oklahoma City in 6 over the Kings as well. I'm kind of rooting against Memphis at this point. I have Houston. I'm sorry. I have Golden State over Houston in 6, again, due to injuries and inexperience. And it doesn't look like Sengun is moving like he was. It doesn't look like Fred VanVleet is moving. And I think they're just showing up in lasting 7 rounds every night. And I don't think they're going to be able to continue to do that. And the Warriors are it's just clicking. The roles are perfect. Kerr's been there, done that. And I think he's just going to take a more open mindset than Ime. I'm going with the Timberwolves as well for another upset, because I, again, am looking at this through a basketball lens. And again, I think the Lakers are going to be injured and they're going to be exposed. And then I have the Clippers advancing. So I am going with everybody but Oklahoma City. I'm going with the underdogs technically, but not underdogs in my world.
They're all 2 games apart.
It is amazing. I mean, the Timberwolves are a good team, and they're a deep team. They could beat the Lakers. They very well could. That's why I had to go into 7. It's unfortunate.
Every team could beat every team except for the Thunder.
It's unfortunate that the Timberwolves caught the Lakers in the first round. Okay, so then I have the Thunder beating the Nuggets in 5. I have the Lakers beating the Warriors in 6. And then I have the Lakers beating the Thunder in 7. And then I have the Lakers defeating the Celtics in 7. Now, this probably won't happen, but I just want to root. I'm so blinded by my sense of justice on the Nico Harrison trade that I feel like I just need the Lakers. And I've become a bronze-sexual myself, thanks to Reuben's encouragement. So I'm just blinded. I think the safer pick is Boston over the Thunder. If I was a betting man, I'd put Thunder, but I just want to root for. I want to believe in something, so I might as well just put Lakers Knicks. But those are the picks I'm going with. Reuben, how about you?
Being a bronze-sexual is just so freeing. Such a great life. All right, I got Thunder Clips. I got Thunder in 6. I just think the Thunder are somehow still underrated. I think they're so deep. They are so talented. They play such tough defense, and they will wear these teams down. And I think, unfortunately, someone in LA is going to get hurt, either Harden or Kawhi. And I just don't think they have enough firepower to hang with them. Lakers Rockets. Dylan Brooks, he made you look. He can't cook. Lakers in 5. Then Thunder Lakers. I can't do it. Thunder in 6. I just think that they got too much. I think they're still being underrated. I think this is an all-time squad. And I think that the size of the Thunder is just going to wear the Lakers down. They've just got so many good defenders to throw at Luka and LeBron, that they're going to wear down. So I got Thunder Celtics in the finals, and I've got the Thunder in 7 in what will be an all-time series. I think this is their year and the beginning of potentially a couple years.
Going to go with the Thunder advancing over the Clippers. Same kind of ideas that you guys have. I'm going with the Warriors over the Timberwolves. Right? And I am going with the Warriors over Oklahoma City for a Knicks-Warriors final.
Oh my God. I'll be going to both games on both cities.
With the Knicks prevailing and you guys taking a year off to celebrate. And again, I'm sticking with my injury theory. I think these teams are going to get beat up. I like the teams that are hot. I mean, the Clippers have been hot. The Warriors have been hot. The Timberwolves have been hot. Oklahoma City's been hot with everybody back. But I'm going with the Joe Mazzulla, Mark Daigneault. You know, the second date's a lot harder than the first one, right? Like the second date starts to expose some of the amateurism that might go into the coaching realm. And I think that combined with some injuries is going to knock the two teams that, you know, have been good all season, as well as the Cavs who have been good all season, and open up the potential for some of these momentous swings from the West. And again, the West is beat up on everybody. If you look at the head-to-head records of the teams playing each other, like, you know, and not that that's helps you in a 7-game series, but that does help you understand that when you know it's going to be a big fight and everybody shows up wanting to win the game, that there's really not that much difference compared to the record, right? And the coaches like Thibodeau, like everybody knows that when Thibodeau's down 14 points in the fourth quarter, he's more worried about trying new plays and experimenting with lineups than he is about trying to come back and win the game, right? Like he wants to win the game and he's going to do everything to compete and he's going to ride some hot hands, but like you're trying to evolve your team as a coach as the season goes on so that you're ready to peak in playoff time. And people can argue against his ability to play minutes and do these minutes things. And again, I could backfire and he could have 3 guys injured in the first round and I'd be totally wrong. But I think that a lot of what goes into the year-end records is not about coaching, right? Like is not about, like if you have 2 stars and you play to win every game, like you're gonna be okay. If you have a payroll of X million over cap 2, like unless you're the Phoenix Suns, you can win every game. But then guys are going to get tired. Guys are going to get hurt. Fans are going to get frustrated. You're not playing that. Like, so when I look at these playoffs and say anything that can happen, I like the 2-star teams that have momentum, that have coaches that maybe have some cards they haven't played yet that aren't going to make amateur kind of second date mistakes.
Yeah, that's well said. Is with just a few minutes before closing, is there anything we haven't discussed that you guys feel is important? Is there like a playoff series you're most unsure about or most go for Reuben?
Why is John Kuminga not playing? I don't understand it. If I was Kuminga and Kerr didn't play me during the 2 most important games of the season, I'm gone. I am signing a restricted free agent contract with Portland Trailblazers. And please, God, make it happen. It's insane. Guy Santos playing over Kuminga? It's sad. It's personal. To me, it seems personal.
Look, I said it in the chat. Like, I mean, look, Jimmy Butler's had battles with players everywhere that he's been. I don't have any information, zero, but my guess is that, you know, everybody knows Kuminga's kind of an alpha, has always thought very highly of himself and his value, and that's what Jimmy can't stand. If you're not putting the work behind it, he's going to go at your head, and he's not going to want you on the court. And if you put him on the court and he makes a mistake, he's going to be yelling at the bench. Then you don't get your best version of Jimmy, which is bad for the thing. And Jimmy could just be the mouthpiece because Draymond can't be saying that anymore. And look, you can't have 3. It's hard to have 3 alphas on the court when you're trying to execute and make adjustments. That's my calculated assumption.
Might be. Eric, what do you think?
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, Warriors won a tough game last night against a tough team. Jimmy had 38 points, Curry had 37. I liked the movement. I think Kuminga doesn't match up well with Butler and Green. You could say, yeah, should he be getting 15 minutes? But say what you want about QP or GP, they know their roles, and they're great fits. I know you're bullish on Kuminga. I'm bearish on him. I think he's an RJ Barrett type, high scorer on a bad team for the rest of his career. Jordan Poole 2.0. That's my prediction. My prediction, he goes to a team. I don't think you want him if you're the Blazers. Like, I don't think you're making the playoffs with him, but feel free to Brandon Ingram type, feel free to try. But that's my hot take. That said, Kuminga's young, like he's really young, so he could prove me wrong. But kind of just think he's a punk. not to be super negative, more negative than
You're entitled to your opinion.
I think I have one funny thing and then two real things. One funny thing is like do the Kings come over the top and like win in advance into the playoffs, and then their owner fires the coach right before the playoff game, like just to come out on top of, the who's firing their coach at the weirdest time. Like I could just totally see the Kings owner doing that, right? And be like, I'm going to coach the team for the playoff game tonight. But two, I don't think that as much as I don't think they're going to, I think it's going to implode a little bit. JJ Redick deserves credit.
We talked about that before the season, the JJ effect.
Yep, I think that he's managed a situation that very few would have been able to manage. Not that again that obviously with Luka makes a lot of things, but players have gotten better. Rui Hachimura has gotten more calculated. I was down on Reeves being able to run it back and be better, and he did. And I think that
Vincent,
yeah. So I mean, he deserves credit there. Going into the playoffs, there were rule changes. I am afraid we were going to have more referee banter controversy than we've ever had before, especially when it comes to non-contact foul calls, stars not getting calls. And even as we watch the Knicks, smaller players struggling to get the calls that they got last year. That's something to look for. And I don't want it to happen. I don't, but I just think with the way that kind of things progressed, and then watching what happened to Trey last night a little bit, I think these refs have bigger egos. The replay's crazy, right? Like the amounts of replays, and like the players like just releasing the ball and he's giving you swing the finger, like go review it. Like it's just in its next threshold of importance. And I'm hoping that we don't have that become the main conversation, but I think it's going to happen at inopportune times, and maybe determine some series, or potentially, like I said, these guys start fighting through it and fighting back, and then it leads to the injury things that I keep referring to.
Well, guys, we're at time. We got our predictions in. We can hold ourselves accountable. It's great to have the gang back together, and excited to come back when we get to discuss the first round.
Much love, boys. Lakers in 5.
All right, everyone have a great day.
Take care, guys.